Hello aspirants, welcome to PW OnlyIAS. I'm here Harpreet Singh with the daily analysis of The Hindu from 12th of November 2024. Let's begin with today's analysis. So this is a Telegram account where you can basically find all the PDFs which I'm basically writing, and the other PDFs, also the previous newspaper analysis, along with it the other material that is required for your preparation. So let's move ahead. So what all topics we're taking for today's analysis? First of all, discrimination in prisons. Again, an article has been there. Sexual violence against gays and bisexuals, page number 6. Now, there were certain other editorials also, but you would see that few days back we had already discussed that regarding COP and the carbon credit. So once the COP 29 is basically over, we can then analyze those articles well, because we had covered the thing. So that is why we have taken these two articles for analysis from the mains perspective. Along with it, the prelims, the Matupeti Dam, page 3, try. There are two articles on page 6 and page 12 on Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. So knowing about it is again important. INS Tarini and Asian Development Bank, page 13. So let's begin with today's analysis. Okay, so mains topics. So this is basically the editorial that was there in your today's The Hindu. See, please understand, when you read this article, if you would have been following this editorial analysis along with the news analysis that we do, the complete newspaper, the Hindu analysis we do, you would have seen in the month of October, on 8th or 9th of October, also I had covered with respect to the judgment that was given by the Honorable Supreme Court with respect to the prison rules. Now, what this article basically deals is, again, a reiteration and discussion from the perspective that there are discriminatory provisions that are existing in the prison rules or the various prison or jails that are across India. Firstly, let us see the various dimensions and the judgment that was given, and then coming back to the article over here. So why it is important is, please understand, Sakanya Shanta versus Union of India 2024, the judgment has been given by the Honorable Supreme Court regarding the prison rule. So let us first see the judgment and why it was given, and then we'll come to the editorial and study that. Let's see. Okay, the context. Discriminatory rules in the various state. Again, see, you know that there are various jails and various prisons are there across the states, and various states have their own provisions also with respect to the prison rules. With respect to that, there are various discriminatory provisions in various states. So we'll see that. Work and division of labor on the basis of social hierarchy. That means when we see this system of prison rules and various prisoners are there in the jail or the prison, there are divisions that have been made on the basis of even caste, or let us say who's a tribal, who's are not, and various classifications are made, and based on that we realize that they are assigned works and duties in the prison. Now that against is against Article 14, Article 15, and again the basic sense and essence of the Constitution of India. That is what is the Honorable Supreme Court highlighting in its judgment. And British era criminal tribe concept was still relevant. Now see, what does it mean, criminal tribe? What happened is, please understand, when the Britishers were basically expanding their rule across India, they saw that various tribal people were there. Now various tribes, let us say people who were in the forest regions. That is why we very often use in Hindi the word Janjati, Adivasi, right? So these words were the basic terminology that have been used with respect to the tribals. And they used to stay in the forest, and they were not confined to one particular region or spot. They used to move across the forest, some nomadic in nature, moving from one place to another. So for them, it was very difficult for the Britishers to basically administer them, because various tribes had even resorted to, let us say, looting certain stuff, and that were creating a menace for the Britishers also. The second intention for the Britishers during the British rule was they wanted to convert as many tribals into the agricultural societies. Why? Once they cut the forest and the agricultural societies are established, they can derive revenue from the tribals. So in order to stop these movement of the tribals and preventing them from moving from one place to, and let us say even indulging in any form of robbery or notorious activity also, what did the Britishers do? They came up with a provision that they could declare any tribe as a criminal tribe, and under that strict action can be taken and they can be put behind the bars just because they are criminal tribes. Now what happens, the provision was used by the Britishers for their purpose to rule India, that tag of criminal tribe still continues in the various jails when people from the various tribes who were designated as criminal tribes during the British time are arrested. They are treated differently in the prison rule and still called as a member of the community of belonging to the criminal tribe. That is again continuing. That is what is being the issue. Now see, all these are being observed in the prison manual. Prison manual, the manual which tells what are the dimensions associated with or the rules in the prison that have to be followed by the prisoners and the various dimensions associated with that. So every prison has their prison manuals, and in that these things are still relevant. Now see, Supreme Court strikes down the prison rules. Now the judgment is basically Sukanya Shantha versus Union of India. Delivered in the month of October 2024. What are the reasons? Please understand. What did the Supreme Court say? The Honorable Supreme Court basically strikes down the prison rule. What are the reasons behind this striking down? The Honorable Supreme Court said that, see, there are caste-based division of labor over there. Now see, Madhya Pradesh Jail Manual, which in 1987 specially assigned latrine cleaning to the scheduled caste community. They said, just imagine that if you are a prisoner and you're belonging to certain particular caste, along with what the Britishers had already used caste as a means of dividing Indians. Similarly, the same manual or the same concept of the manual, prison manual, is going on even in Madhya Pradesh, where the person belonging to the scheduled caste is assigned the work of cleaning the toilets and the latrines here, not the other castes. So this is again what's caste-based division of labor. That means it is promoting the caste differences and emphasizing on the caste hierarchy within the prison itself. Next, stereotypes. Denotified tribes in Madhya Pradesh prison face discrimination. Denotified. Now please understand, what does denotified means? According to the the tribes which were declared as criminal tribes, that was going on during the British time, right? Now, after independence, the government of India realized that we need to remove those tribes from this tag of the criminal tribes. So they denotified those tribes from the tag of the criminal tribes. So those denotified tribes were known as, again, those who were denotified were known as denotified tribes. But what happens? Because from movement from one concept of criminal tribe to be tagged as denotified, again they were still treated as criminal tribes when they go to the jail. Because in the jail manual also, if you see, just a minute, because in the jail manual also, if you see, it still followed the concept of certain tribes being criminal, and even they were notified, they were saying, yes, you have a legacy of being associated with those criminal nature and your ancestors associated with the criminal tribe nature. So they were treated differently completely. That is again relevant in the prison manuals. In Madhya Pradesh, it is still relevant. Even for that matter, other tribes also, other places also. Violation of the fundamental rights. It is a violation of Article 17, abolition of untouchability. Against the right to equality, Article 14. Against Article 15, that is right against discrimination. It is against Article 21, right to life. Against prohibition of forced labor, Article 23. So all these provisions that are present are against the constitutional spirit. That is a major aspect. Now please understand, what was the Supreme Court's ruling? In the judgment given in October 2024, what was the judgment given? Please see. Unconstitutionality of the provisions. That means the provisions in the manual that are given in the various prisons, it is unconstitutional, against the spirit of the constitution. So they have to be abolished. So wow, what did the Supreme Court say? Revision required. The Supreme Court directed all the states and union territories to revise the prison manual within 3 months. They said within 3 months, all these things need to be changed and revamped. Next, amend the Model Prison Manual 2016 and draft the Model Prison Correctional Services Act 2023. Now see what is going on. We realize that the states have been directed to follow the Model Prison Manual that is being given as a means of, let us say, adaptation from the side of the central government, that you can see these manual and the states can basically adopt it because it is in the purview of the state. So the states have been directed to follow these directions which are given by the central government, and they should make amendments and corrections in the prison manuals which are basically in the jurisdiction of the various states. And within 3 months this needs to be done. Next. Direction to District Legislative Services Authority. Now the District Legislative Services Authority have been directed that after 3 months they would be again visiting the various jails and seeing whether the amendments have been made, and along with it repeated checks would be done in the various prisons so that the new manual that is adopted in letter and spirit, not simply in the form of a text. That means the proper implementation of the new manual that comes up should be done, and that is again the onus lies on District Legal Services Authority to conduct the inspections. This is now you have basically understood what is the basic issue that is concerning over here, or the prison manual, or where various discriminatory provisions that are present in the prison manual. Now coming back to the article, ending discrimination in prisons. We saw certain examples in the case of Madhya Pradesh also. Now what happens is, this article in the editorial basically talks about all these things which I've already summed up in the text that I have written. Just a minute. I have basically summed up the provisions that are written over here with respect to the article. Now please see it very carefully. What does it say? It says that in the Sukanya Shanta versus Union of India 2024, it basically struck down discriminatory provisions of the prison rules, which we have seen right now. Along with it, please understand the important dimension over here is that even in Punjab, before, let us say prior to 1980, similar provisions were there. And for that matter, other states also will see. Madhya Pradesh we have seen. Now see, in Punjab police rules before 1980, 2 classes of prisoners were there. In the prison manual, they used to have 2 classes of prisons. One, the better classes, and the other, the ordinary. You would be seeing that normally the prisoners are handcuffed, right? Once those who have been classified as better classes are exempted from handcuffing. On the other hand, the ordinary prisoners are handcuffed in case when they're taken to jail or being in the jail. So this is again what we see, a discriminatory provision. Who are better classes? Segregated. Let us say the people who are from the lower caste, and along with it, let us say criminal tribes, were even put in the category of ordinary or even below that. The other upper caste and even the elite classes were put in the better classes, and they were exempted from the handcuffing. Similarly, this provision that was there in the Punjab police rules were actually declared unconstitutional in 1980 by the Supreme Court, because the prison rules were challenged in Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said that these are unconstitutional and should be eliminated. Now the problem is, please understand, when the Supreme Court had even declared them unconstitutional in 1980, the judgment of the Supreme Court should have formed as a guiding line for all the states to adopt it. But the states did not do that. That is why you realize repeatedly such judgments are given, and it is very disheartening that the states are not basically making these changes in the prison rule. That is why a deadline of 3 months has been given in the latest judgment. Similarly, please understand, in Goa, Daman and Diu prisons also, they basically classify the prisoners into 2 categories. One is the class 1 prisoners, and second is class 2 prisoners. And it is very funny, you won't believe that, though it is very disheartening, it is funny. In this case, the class 1 prisoners were allowed to write 4 letters a month, and the class 2 prisoners were allowed to write 2 letters a month to their families. Because class 1 prisoners were treated as better prisoners, belonging to better social status, better caste, higher economic status. So they were allowed to write 4 letters. On the other hand, the class 2 prisoners only 2 letters to their families. Now, do you imagine, along with the case of Madhya Pradesh, you have the cases of Goa, Daman and Diu, and again the Punjab rules also that is there. Now comes the aspect that this article is again talking about the case which has gone up, where we realize that Madhya Pradesh and other dimensions have been highlighted again, which say that the judgment that the Supreme Court has given into October is basically talking about even the caste hierarchy that is present. And it is very shocking. You won't believe that even the Calcutta High Court had earlier given the similar judgment where the prison rules need to be amended so that there is no discrimination with respect to the prisoners who are there. But no step was taken. Now please understand, that is why we need to understand something, that as the Supreme Court has given the judgment in the month of October, by again November, December, January end, or the rules, again the new rules will be coming up and the states will be again asked even from the Supreme Court that whether they have implemented the rules. So any update will come, we'll again work on that. What the article also talks about, it says, see, that though the prisoners have committed crimes of various degrees and various intensities, we know that, but at least a minimum dignified life is something that is expected of it. If you go to US prisons also, you'll be realizing that people of various heinous crimes are governed, but a basic minimum living is given to them also. And dignified life with respect to the minimum aspect that at least a person can live. Though, yes, there's going to be a lot of work that is going to be done. Let us say they have to do a lot of work because of the heinous crimes they have done. Again, along with whatever the duration that might be for which they have to live there, whether it is death sentence also. Whatever be the case, but at least a minimum dignified life is what the editorial is also talking about. So that is again important. That is what Supreme Court is also aiming at. Supreme Court says that when you talk about removing the discriminatory provision, it is again a means of not separating the people on their caste. Because see, caste and all those discriminatory provisions are against the constitutional spirit. And similarly, when the people who are in the prison also, Constitution also talks about, see, though they have committed a crime, we have to treat them with a dignified life. That is what the aim is. Let's move ahead with the analysis of the other topics. Okay, high prevalence of sexual violence against gays, bisexual men across 6 cities. Topic 2, GS 1 and 2, page 6. Now see, over here when we talk about, we need to understand that terminology first of all. See, again, LGBTQA+. There are certain things that you should know, only then possibly you can understand. When I am talking about L, lesbians, this is a case in which a girl is attracted sexually towards another girl. That means a likeness of a girl is towards a girl only. That means girl is attracted towards a girl. When I talk about gays, G is gays over here. This is a scenario in which boy, a male, is attracted towards another male. From sexual attraction is there, right? Boy is attracted towards a boy. Now when I see aspect of bisexual, now over here you'll see bisexual men is written. There's a reason behind it. If you are a boy, you are attracted to a boy also and a girl also sexually. And if you are a girl, again you are attracted to a boy also, and for that matter girl also. That means attracted to both the other genders. That is bisexual. Clear? I will take transgenders after this, don't worry. Let us see the others. When I am talking about Q, please understand Q is, it is basically an umbrella term. See, earlier on it was LGBTQ, others were not there. So what happened? It is an umbrella term covering all these various words that have come up. It is an umbrella term or a broad term. It is not something that is specifically denoting something. It is an umbrella term denoting all these things. Now comes the aspect of who is asexual. That means A is now asexual. Recently a movie also came up which were basically talking about asexual. Asexual means that whether you are a boy or a girl, you are not sexually attracted towards anybody. That means the emotional aspect, or let us say the urge to indulge in sexual intercourse is not there. You can be emotionally attached, but you are not sexually attracted to anybody. That is the major dimension over here, being asexual. That is why what happens, there were certain cases that came up where there was a man and a woman who married, but the woman was asexual in nature. That means she was with time emotionally attached to her husband, but she had no urge or no indulgence in getting into a sexual intercourse with the husband. Now later on what happened is that when the husband basically discussed with her, she talked about a situation. Now the husband said that this is something that will not suffice their marriage, so he filed for a divorce case. When the case went to the district court said no, this is not a ground. But again, when it went to the high court said, even this is a case of Calcutta, where the Calcutta High Court said that the provisioning of sexual let us say giving the sexual favors from the plight from a partner's perspective is one of the essential ingredient of the relationship of marriage, and avoiding the partner from sex basically can amount to a divorce. So that is why the divorce was also granted in that case. So this is a case that came up. Meanwhile, asexual means no interest in sexual intercourse. Now one more thing I had not covered, T, C, understand. Over here, why I'm taking transgenders as different, there is a reason behind it. Transgenders are treated or seen differently from the side of the government also. Please understand. Transgenders are such, or what they are is because of the chromosomal abnormality. That means they have some genetical issues, chromosomal issues, we can say. Because of that, they are like this. And they are not able to reproduce also. So that is why they are known as a third gender also. So they are the reason why that is why we call them as third gender. And along with it, we realize that they are such because of the biological issue. Right? Now what happens? Chromosomal aberration that we study in the topic of genetics, that is the problem. Now see the difference between transgenders and the others. This is a biological problem. Others are orientations. Orientation, that means what you favor, you or not, you like someone or another gender or the same gender, it is your choice. It is an orientation. This is not an orientation. But what the problem is that people tend to club all these into the similar terminology. That is the reason if you see, the government has act on the protection of the transgenders. They do not have an act on, especially on not lesbians, gays, bisexuals, queers or asexual. They do not have any law for that. The reason is that is your orientation or your preference of the partner with whom you want to indulge in a sexual intercourse. But in this case, it is the chromosomal problem. That is why they cannot reproduce. They can very well reproduce because all the hormones and everything is fine. It is just their preference. So that is why these are orientations. Orientations. Clear? Now what happens? Coming to the article, when I talk about the gays you very well know, boys attraction towards boy, bisexual men, that means men who are attracted towards men and the girls, boys or the girls for that matter. A very high prevalence of discrimination, sexual violence is prevalent among them. Now, in this article that is mentioned in the Hindu, they basically took a sample study from the various states and they saw a very high prevalence of discrimination that is there. Let us have a brief idea. 78.7% gay men among the sample study that was done in the 6 states. Out of them, 78.7% of the gay men and 44% of the bisexual. Bisexual men again you can understand, who are attracted to boys also and attracted to girls also. Gay men again, boys or men attracted to men, right? So they have faced some sort of verbal, physical or sexual violence. Now, there are reasons behind it. Please understand, because today's society also, though we realize that homosexuality has been decriminalized, but their acceptance with respect to the society is still now not to that extent which we see in the Western societies. In Indian society, it is not that accepted. Along with it, we realize that in the recent judgment with respect to the Supreme Court had given on the gays and lesbians marriage, the Supreme Court had very categorically said that we cannot accept or treat the lesbians and the gays marriage from a similar perspective as the other marriages. So that means they are still not accepted in the society as they are accepted in the various states as you go to the Western countries and even in the United States. So what happens because of that is non-acceptance, physical violence. When you see the people who are gays, let us say, then the people there, it is very difficult for them to get even the flats on rent. Then it is very problems of, let us say, within the family also. If somebody is a gay or a lesbian, they face discriminatory issues. Intentionally they are forced, when are you getting married, how are you getting married, those taunts start coming. Along with it, those sexual violence, and again a very important issue. Please understand, let us say a girl who's a lesbian. Now she is sexually attracted towards a girl only. Now let us say what happens, because she is a girl, the other men around her perceive her as a girl who would, according to them, who should like a boy. So then what happens, the boys tend to taunt her, and see such things that come up now basically is again sexual violence, physical violence, taunting, mental health problems. If you realize that there are, when you see in India itself, 74% of us Indians are basically having mental health issues. Among them, the people who are belonging to these communities have a very high relevance of the mental health issues, because they face problems not only from their family, their societies, even the partners who might be there, they might not be able to accept them in a future course because the society where they are staying. And accordingly, along with it, we know that the judicial system also has, again, though decriminalized homosexuality, is not accepting these categories and a similar platform like the other members of the society from the aspect of marriage and other institutions. So this is again a scenario. If we move ahead, 44% of the lesbian women and 61% of the bisexual women have experienced rape and physical violence. Because if you see, various cases have come up, like let us say lesbian women, men with a bad intention, heinous crime, they perceive there's a woman, how can you like a woman? Particularly a view of the patriarchal societies. So this is again the problem that is coming up. Please understand, we should see from the perspective, not right now simply gays, bisexuals also, but we should also see it from the perspective that these are human beings. Leave everything right now. These are human beings. They're equal citizens of the country. That is what the problem is. Now we will tell you also further dimensions. And if you see in United States, we talk about very advanced societies. Over there also similar issues are there. See, in United States from 2017 to 2020, the rate of violent victimization of lesbians and gays is 43.5 per victimization per 1,000 persons. Now again, the percentage is very low with respect to the total people. So over there, 4% discrimination is there, but in India it's very high. The rate of violent victimization against transgenders is 50.5 victimization per 1,000 persons. So again 5.1%. So do you realize victimization is there in United States also, but it is much lower than that of India, because the Western society is relatively more comfortable with the acceptance of these orientations when we compare it with the Indian society. It will take time. Whether it is accepted or not, that also depends. So there are various issues, and because of them we realize that lot of violence takes place. Do you realize that even when they, in various cases that have not been studied also, an article was written which stated that when the girls who are lesbians or gays, their parents commit a lot of physical violence from the sense beating them up because of their orientation. Those are things that are not basically reported in a large extent also, because they say how can they complain against their parents. Very large violence happens from the side of the parents also, because they see that how can their children be lesbians or gays. Those things are not even considered in the study. As we move ahead, please understand, the National Human Rights Commission's core group of LGBTQ, they have basically given or told the government also to sensitize general public, law enforcement agencies and medical community about the Supreme Court judgments and recently passed law so that the right of the communities are safeguarded. So National Human Rights Commission have already told that people should be made aware of their rights. They have the rights because they are again citizens of the India. But then again, it is the role of the onus also to spread awareness on these topics. Again, we have the Transgender Persons Act 2019, which basically provides them the status or defines what transgender is. Then along with it tells them that they have equal rights as citizens. It also provides them in a future course reservation with respect to under the OBC category they can be provided. Along with it, it is provided that they should not be discriminated while availing jobs, opportunities, houses in residential societies. So it is like along with it, if discrimination is there, then measures and penalties are also declared in this. So it is a provision that gives or guards the transgender society. Now again, I'm telling you the others are orientation. That is why special provisions are not there. What the problem happens is, please understand, under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, unlike the IPC, the provision for rape of transgender, the provision is removed in Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. It was in IPC. But what we know that, again, there are positives and negatives both of this. Firstly, negative can be that earlier transgenders, because of the vulnerable group, they were treated separately and special provisions were there. Now they are treated like, yes, there are vulnerable sections, but they are human beings. So any violation or rape, instance of rape would also be considered as heinous as any rape of any other person. From that perspective, it is fine. Now coming to the problem with respect to lesbians and gays also. What happens is that when various often it happens that a lesbian person, a boy might rape a boy. When the person goes to the police station also, over there they face a lot of discriminatory issues. They face that because of your orientation you are suffering this, and they do not file the FIR, and they're shoved off from their filing their complaint. So these are the problems that come up. So we need to analyze that there should be proper standard operating procedure on this. Special rights should be, again, if not guarding them, at least rights should be there, so that the police authorities are also sensitized that if the lesbian person is a boy is raping a boy or a girl is raping a girl, then we should be having provisions where proper FIR should be registered and case should be filed against them. That is what is then a problem that the lesbians and gays face. So that was the article over here. Let's move ahead. So we have the prelims topics. Topic number 1, GS3, page 1. There's again a seaplane lands in Mathupati Dam, raises ecological concerns. Let us see what is Mathupati Dam. If you go to the state of Kerala, this is the position of where the dam is located. This is the photo of the dam, right? Now, the dam is near Munnar in the Idukki district. It is a storage concrete gravity dam built in the mountains of Kerala to conserve water, hydroelectricity. Again, capacity of 55.4 million cubic meter. You don't have to remember catchment area and surface area. Again, its construction started before independence and it became operational in close to 1952. So again, an important dam. Now what happens is, I'll tell you, the concern over here is, there is a big reservoir over here, as you would see in the picture that is denoted here. This is a reservoir. In this reservoir, in order to boost the tourism, the various seaplanes are landing. Now what happens, all the other sides except for where the dam is built, all the sides are surrounded by very dense forest. Now very large wildlife is there, birds come. So what is happening is the landing of the plane and the noise that it is making, it is disturbing the birds and the ecology over there. And that is what is raising the concern over here. So we basically, again, this is basically opened by the various environmentalists also, that stop those commercial activities in the regions which is very sensitive, which is eco-sensitive zones when you're landing planes over there. So that is why they said others are eco-sensitive zones. You should refrain from that. That is what they should. So we know the ecological dimension also, and now where this particular dam is, which can be asked in your papers in prelims particularly. Let's move ahead. There were 2 articles with respect to TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. It can be asked in your preliminary examination with respect to its provisions and all. See, TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, the mandate is the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has the main role of regulating telecommunication sector in India. It creates and nurture conditions of growth of telecommunication. Now, please understand that the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India was established in 1977 by the Act of the Parliament. Again, what is the objective? It aims to provide fair and transparent environment and a level playing field. What are the structure and composition? Headquarters is in New Delhi. Members, it consists of a chairperson and not more than 2 full-time members and not more than 2 part-time members. If you talk about qualifications, in that case, you'll be seeing that members must possess special knowledge or professional experience in telecom, industry, finance, accountancy, law, management, and consumer affairs. Senior or retired government officers who have served at least 3 years as secretary, additional secretary to the union can be appointed as the members of the TRI. Tenure, the chairperson and other members have a tenure of 3 years or until they reach the age of 65. Chairperson and vice chairperson, the chairperson exercises the powers of general superintendents and the vice chairman persons along with the functions of the chairperson in his absence. So when the chairperson is there, he is the one who is a major person. In his absence, the vice chairman is a person who takes his roles and duties. Now, if you move ahead with this, you will be seeing that removal of the members, the union government has a power to remove any member of Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. He or she can be adjudged insolvent, convicted of an offence, if he is physically or mentally disabled or incapable, if he has abused his position for his own benefit, like we have the concept of office of profit for the parliamentarians. Similarly, in this case, decision making, the decision taken is based on the majority vote of the members present. In case of equality of vote, then the chairperson has a casting vote. That means if they're equal, if the vote being casted and the votes are balanced, then the vote of the chairperson is one which is going to decide. That is a casting vote. Then functions: protect consumer interest, license to new service providers, like if some like Jio and all are there. So if new player comes up, the license will be provided by TRI, right? Advice to telecom policies with respect to the government of India, that what should be the policies, what will breed basically competitive environment in the country. So all these advice are given. Compatibility between service providers. TRI not only ensures technical compatibility between the service provider, also regulates the revenue sharing arrangements also. Monitor telecom licenses, facilitate competition, so that it should not be there that one particular company is creating a monopoly. Over there again, the competitive commission will also come up in that case. In that case, TRI also has to make sure that there is no monopolistic attitude and going against the, let us say, a proper healthy competition. So that is why facilitating healthy competition is something very important. Protecting agreements, miscellaneous function, as that can be entrusted to them by the central government. So these are all the dimensions. Let's see further. Topic 3, GS3 INS Tarini. Now page 6. So what is this? Please understand. All women crew Indian naval sailing vessel Tarini set to sail around the globe. Now you have seen that INS Tarini basically is a sailboat. You can see it is a sailboat. Now a women crew is basically on a journey towards, again, traveling across the globe on this sailboat. That is why you should be a little bit aware of what INS Tarini is. Now, INS Tarini was built in Goa for the Indian Navy by Aquarius Shipyard Private Limited under the Make in India initiative. Again, it is made up of wooden core, fiberglass construction, 25-meter tall, customly built by the southern spheres of Cape Town. So what is major important thing over here? You should be understanding it is firstly a sailboat. Second thing over there is that a women crew is on a journey to circumvent the globe. So that means sailing around the globe. These are the two things you should be knowing. Other things, because in the preliminary examination, they can ask me INS Tarini is associated with what? So it is firstly a sailboat. Second, on its mission to circumvent the globe, what the crew comprises? The all women crew. That is it. Okay, let's move ahead. Asian Development Bank, ADB increases climate finance backed by US and Japan pledge. Again, Asian Development Bank has been involved in providing finances with respect to the climate finance, again, discussion that are going on COP29 also. Over here also we realize that the Asian Development Bank is again providing or facilitating finances for the renewable energy resources and all that, basically that reduce the impact on the climate in a way that climate change, for that matter, because we see that Alone, the provision from the World Bank or the IMF, and for that matter, let us say various companies, will not be enough for the various countries. Over here, we realize that ADB is the one which can play a very, very important role in financing the various countries, particularly the developing nations and the least developed countries. Now, let us see what ADB is. That is what becomes important for your examination. Asian Development Bank, it is a multilateral development bank which seeks to help developing member countries to reduce poverty and improve their quality of life. Membership: from 31 members at the establishment in 1966, the Asian Development Bank has grown to 68 members, of which 49 are within Asia and Pacific and 19 outside. India became the member in 1966 itself. Membership criteria: it is open to members and associates members of the United Nations Economic Commission for Asia and Far East. It is also open to other regional countries and regional developed countries that are members of the United Nations or any other specialized agency. Although the majority of the bank's members are from the Asia Pacific region, industrialized nations are also its members, right? So if we move ahead, shareholders as of December 2019, ADB's 5 largest stakeholders are Japan, United States, with each with 15.6%, People's Republic of China with 6.4%, India with 6.3%, and Australia with 5.8% share. Headquarters is in Manila, Philippines. Now, this is again the shareholding, so you should be aware of that. Let's move on to the MCQs with explanation. First question. The options, the explanation, answer. Second question, options, the explanation and the answer. Third question, the explanation and the answer. Fourth question, the explanation and the answer. Fifth question, the explanation and the answer. So this was the newspaper analysis from my side, Harpreet Singh. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You can find this link in this Telegram account which is mentioned over here. We'll continue with the series tomorrow. All the best. Take care and Jai Hind.